Yeah.
Hey, in studio, we got Scott Rigsby, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Right.
I'm praying I've been saying your name right the last week or so. This is a little strange. I was in Central Park. I just jumped on my bike. I was going to do a loop, and I'm biking along, and all of a sudden I see Scott with like prosthetic legs standing there in the middle of Central Park in the road where we all bike, and he's got a camera crew. I'm like, I got to stop and talk to this guy. And then we talked for about a half hour or so.
Yeah, sure.
And his story was completely fascinating. Turns out that Scott is the first double amputee to ever complete an Ironman triathlon. Actually,
I'm the first double amputee to ever complete the Hawaiian Ironman. It's the Ironman World Championships. There was a guy earlier from Japan, 22-year-old guy, that actually finished Ironman New Zealand.
Right.
But then the Hawaiian Ironman is the oldest one, and it's actually the elite athletes of all these 22 Ironman competitions around the world.
Right.
It's the best athletes, and they meet in Hawaii every year.
So someone was before you?
Yeah, there was.
All right, beat it.
There was one young guy.
The New Zealand one, though.
Japanese don't count.
New Zealand one's easy. Anyone could do that. That one stinks.
No one wants to hear the guy that did it second.
You and it's. I was looking at your thing, and it said that you lost your legs when you were 18.
Yeah.
And the way you lost them was very, very.
Horrific.
I mean, there's never a good way to lose them, but this was like particularly. I wasn't sure if you were a soldier. You want to say what happened?
No, actually, I was 18 years old. I'm from Southwest Georgia. And I was working a landscaping job, and we were pulling a flatbed trailer. I was sitting on the back of a pickup truck, and this 18-wheeler tried to pass us in a no-passing zone. We were approaching a bridge, and he didn't think he was going to have enough room for both vehicles being on the bridge, so he moved over. I got knocked off, grabbed hold of the side of the truck for a brief second. We were going like 45 miles an hour, and my legs got lodged in between our flatbed trailer tire, and I literally bounced up and down the road over 324 feet on the pavement. My friend in the middle that was sitting on the back of this toolbox with me grabbed my other friend, or he would have been crushed between the side of the truck and the bridge. And then he went to grab me, and I wasn't there, so he started beating on the back of the glass. And then that's when the truck actually stopped.
Do you remember it at all, or is it just what people have told you, or do you remember that moment?
I remember the collision, and right before the tractor trailer collided with us, I remember, gosh, I can't believe this guy's going to pass on our bridge. And then the next thing I know, I'm holding on for dear life for just a second, and then the next thing I know, I wake up and my buddy, I'm trying to get up. I played high school football, and so I just got my bell rung, and so I'm trying to get up, and he pushes me down. We've been in an accident, and help is on the way.
Oh, so you actually were there in shock, obviously. And when did you realize that you had lost both legs? Did they tell you there or in the hospital?
Well, I mean, it was probably I think it was literally probably 3 days later. I had a concussion, so I woke up like 3 days. Later on that night, I take that back. Later on that night, I woke up probably 1 o'clock, and I heard this doctor talking with my parents, and he said something about taking off both of my legs. And I sat up and I said, "You mean to tell me you're going to take off both my legs?" I'm an athlete, and this was a manual labor job, earning a little extra money for college. I was in phenomenal shape, and only had one scar on my body. So to go from an 18-year-old kid who has one little scar on his body to some doctor telling me, "Hey, we're going to take off both of your legs below the knee," I was, I didn't even know what to think. And then I passed out, and 3 days later, I woke up and I was missing my right leg below the knee.
And it was just so mangled. There was nothing to do.
Well, I mean, mostly part of it wasn't even there. It was drug off right above my ankle.
Jesus.
And then my left leg, my calcaneus, the heel bone, was completely knocked off. And so they shipped me from Southwest Georgia to Atlanta, and they took some bone chips from my back, some muscle from underneath my arm, and some skin from my thigh, and actually created me an ankle. Had 8 surgeries in 6 weeks, 17 in a year, and this was July 23rd, 1986 when the accident happened. So over the course of a year, I had 17 surgeries, and then I went off to college at the University of Georgia, and over the course of probably 7 years, I had additional surgeries. 12 years, I had 25 surgeries.
So what you had, you had the right leg was gone. You were using crutches or a prosthetic?
No, I was using a prosthetics. I went off to college after a year, but I was having really my college years over the course of 7 years really consisted of getting a surgery, going to class, getting a surgery, going to class, and so I graduated and then worked odd jobs along the way. But really over the course of 12 years, I had 25 surgeries, and then I went to a surgeon there in Atlanta. He's Dr. Scott Galogly. He's the team physician for the Atlanta Falcons and Thrashers, and said, "Hey, I want you to take off the other leg." And so literally, June 22nd, 1998, he took off my left leg below 4 or 5 inches below the knee, and 6 weeks later from the time that I had surgery, I was running foot over foot, just like Opie saw me in the park.
Absolutely amazing, by the way. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, 13 years after the accident. Or 12 years after
12
the accident?
years accident, yeah.
You had the other leg removed. Was it so irritating, or was it like you couldn't do anything with it, or why would you have had that? Was it just...
It really, I had never run, I was never able to run farther than just a mile. And then, I would be trying to run in college or out of college, and I would run, and I would, because half of my foot was kind of manufactured via skin graft, muscle grafts, it would bleed. I would open up my shoe, I'd take my shoe off, and there'd just be blood in there, but I didn't feel it. And so I really felt like I was going to run the risk of infection. And plus, over the course of 12 years, $2 million worth of medical expenses, 25 surgeries, I felt like I was a professional patient. I felt like I was a prisoner trapped to this leg. There was this life that was out there that I needed to be leading, but I couldn't do it unless I took off this other leg. And like I said...
That's got to be a hell of a decision.
Yeah. That was your own decision? That wasn't a doctor's... Nobody recommended that, or?
Well, obviously I had to go. When I went to the doctor, prosthetics, you got to think about how prosthetics have advanced.
Right, since then.
Here in 1986, would you ever have thought that a double amputee sprinter would have been banned from the Olympics or try to compete in the Olympics?
Right.
And the interesting thing is nowadays prosthetics are advanced. There's not a technical advantage, but that's not to say that won't happen in the future.
Right.
But as it stands today, there's not a technical advantage. But back then, I was probably wearing legs that weighed 10 or 15 pounds each, and
cumbersome, not really getting around that well.
Made out of fiberglass boat material,
right?
And now they're made out of space shuttle material.
What exactly? Because looking at you, we've seen people with prosthetics walking, and it looks comfortable and natural. What holds? Because the leg, it starts off, the sneakers and then the prosthetic, and then it kind of goes into a bandage, which comes up on the thigh. What holds the leg on and keeps it from coming off?
Basically, there's only like 4 parts to a prosthesis. There's just like you put on your socks when you get up in the morning, I put on a kind of a sheet that's made out of urethane. It's just as a gel liner, and that's called a prosthetic liner. Slide it over my legs. My legs are off 4 or 5 inches below each knee. Just slide it over my leg, and then that acts as an interface between my leg and then a carbon fiber custom socket. Just imagine kind of a mold, almost like a denture for my leg. And then that gel liner sits into the prosthetic socket, and then a sleeve, just like you have a athletic sleeve. Well, I have a kind of a silicone sleeve that slides over my leg, and it creates an airtight seal. And then right below the prosthetic socket is a small little tube that's a one-way valve, and it pushes the air out, so my legs are held on by vacuum.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. And then there's the last part of the prosthesis is just really the foot portion of the of the prosthetic.
Now, when Scott walked in this morning, if you didn't know any better, you would say this guy has both his legs.
Yeah.
You look down and it's obvious, but you walked in and I can't see below your waist, and I'm like, it looks like he doesn't.
The movement
it's amazing.
Last night, I worked for 2 things. I worked for 6 months. I was in the internet field in sales. And I was working with one of my coworkers, and I said, "Hey, I need to go get my. I've got an appointment with my to get my legs fixed." And she's like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "Well, I have 2 artificial legs," and she never knew. She worked with me for 6 months, so most people don't know if I have have pants on, and even if I have pants on, like this homeless guy hit on me last night. He said, "Hey man, can you give me some money?" And I'm like, "You just asked a guy with no legs for money." And he looked down. He's like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't know. I didn't even know." He was looking at my face. He wasn't looking at my legs.
Right.
How many years since this is? So how old are you now? You're in your 30s.
No, I actually turned 40 back in May.
So over half your life with.
22 years. Yeah.
Are you like? I mean, we always personalize it. How would I feel? Do you feel like kind of pissed off that it happened, or are you more grateful? Like I probably should have been killed, and I'm lucky to be here at all.
No, I mean, really, a lot of the biggest questions I speak to kids groups across the nation, and the biggest question that I get is, if you had a choice for, God to give you back your real legs or have prosthetics, continue with prosthetics for the rest of your life, which would you choose? And I said, hands down, I would choose my prosthetics, because at the end of my life, I want, it's all about, what did I do here? What kind of difference did I make here? Obviously I was saved from this catastrophic accident. I should have died. And so there's a reason, obviously, that I'm here. And I feel like that is just to make the world a better place. Show people that, whatever happens to you, you can overcome it and make something of your life and really invest in other people.
There's something about Scott, too, because I never stop for anyone, man. And living in New York, you see a lot of weird crap going on. But your personality just was oozing, and I go, I got to talk to this guy. An observation, though, you're cheating on your height today, I say.
Oh, definitely.
When I met him in the park, he was a lot shorter. We were about the same height in the park, and he walks in today, he's like 6'2". I'm like,
yeah.
That's one of the advantages.
Yeah. Well, I'm about, I mean, if I want to get on a date, I can ask the girl, hey, do you want a short guy or a tall guy? I was like, do you want I said, do you want to date a hobbit or a tall guy?
Yeah.
So, my brother, when I had the second leg off, my brother was 6 foot tall, and he's always been taller than me. And so, I just jacked up my legs so I can be taller than him.
Oh, he wants to tell you off, too, so badly.
Much, yeah. And my friend, who's actually on the back of the truck, he's still hacked off at me. He's still 5'7".
Right.
People ask me, were you ever bitter after the accident? And I said, no, but my best friend still is.
So when the accident occurred when you were 18, obviously you attempted to continue being an athlete, and it was tough for you until they removed the left leg in '98, and then you've been going all out ever since.
Well, I mean, the way my kind of athletic journey, I mean, I had those 12 years there. The last 3 years of that 12-year period before I had the other leg, I was addicted to prescription medications. And then I finally had this other leg off, and it kind of gave me this free life. And I just wanted to live like a normal life, get married, have kids, stuff like that.
And did you do all that?
I haven't found the right one yet.
Oh, okay.
Oops. And I'm trying to find somebody to help me with that. So I started working working and I just didn't really find myself, find that purpose until. December of 2005, Christmas of 2005, I saw a lot of our soldiers, men and women in the service who had put themselves on harm's way for our freedom. I saw them coming back from the war, and it just really ripped my heart out. And I thought that I've always had this uncanny ability to be able to balance and walk on these prosthetics. I played, just sports like softball and flag football and stuff like that, but never anything endurance. And so I saw our men and women, and I heard about this girl that actually did the Ironman. She was above the knee amputee. She was actually on the front cover of Runner's World in 2006 and 2000, and Triathlete magazine on 2006. And I said, you know what, I need to do an Ironman. And so I told my friends, I said, hey, I'm going to do an Ironman. Well, I told them, if you look at me, I'm built like a linebacker.
Right, you're stocky.
I'm not built like a
marathon runner.
Yeah, a swimmer, a cyclist, or a runner. And so I told my buddies I was going to do an Ironman, but I didn't know how to, in January of 2006, I didn't know how to swim, I didn't own a bike, and I'd never run farther than a mile on a set of prosthetics. And I told them I was going to swim 2.4 miles in the ocean, I was going to ride 112 miles on a bike through the lava fields of Hawaii at 110 heat index, and I was going to run a full marathon, 26.2 miles, and I was going to do it all under 17 hours. And that really started my journey. My first small distance triathlon, a 600-meter swim, a 12-mile bike ride, and a 5K run was April 22nd of 2006. Wow. Well, fast forward 1 year and 8 months, and I finished one of the toughest endurance races on the planet. So it really took me 0 to Ironman in a year and 8 months.
So you have it. Look, you're wearing a pair of the prosthetics now. Just have sneakers, and obviously for just getting around and walking, and then you have two other ones with you. One, which is fitted. It's kind of like almost locks around a bike pedal.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the other one, it looks almost like a scoop, like a very thin, like almost like an ice cream scoop. And what is
like a spatula,
like a spatula,
like a curved spatula,
Like a Russian sickle.
Yeah, exactly.
What is that one for?
That's for running.
The first one that you were talking about that kind of looks like an upside, it's like a trident, and where it has the cleat, the bicycle cleat. I ride a normal bike just like everybody else, and so I clip into the pedals just like everybody else.
How do you get off? Clip in like you're locked in. Like if the bike started to tip over, could you jump off it?
I would need to twist my knee. Most people twist their ankle, but I need to twist my knee to pop out.
Yeah, Jimmy, most of these guys are locked into their pedals these days to begin with. So,
are they? Okay.
Yeah, real bicyclists, they lock in. But they can twist real fast and they can get out. So what are you saying? He has to twist from the knee to get off.
Yeah, all you need to do is just press down, and the pedal locks in, and the cleat locks into the pedal. And so you're locked in. You get more power that way.
I saw him on the running spatula thing. I'll call it the spatula thing. And he was just bouncing the whole time I was talking to him because it's hard to bounce on those, obviously, but you can run like a mother effer.
Yeah, there's I'm balancing 200 pounds on 3 square inches.
Right.
And so it's like it doesn't kind of give me any kind of a technical advantage or anything like that. But what it does is it's just simply just like running shoes. It just cushions the blow of running.
Yeah.
Did you ever have, or how long did you have? I guess you did it like phantom feelings where you like when you're running. Can you feel anything below the knee? Or does your mind tell you that there's something going on? Because they say that when you lose a limb, you have phantom.
You still feel
pain,
itchy, and all that stuff. Yeah.
I haven't really had phantom pains because the right leg was taken off by trauma, but still, even then, it was. The surgeon had enough time to do a very good amputation. The left leg was taken off by choice, but still it was, it was taken off, in a textbook kind of way. Where our soldiers, the real phantom pains, I haven't had those, but the real phantom pains that our soldiers are having is these makeshift, bombs and stuff like that are shattering some of the bones. So they take off a leg, but the bone fragments are going into the leg, and the bone doesn't realize that it's separated, and so it creates a bone spur, and it literally starts to grow into these guys like muscles and nerve endings and stuff like that. And that's really the a story that a lot of people don't understand that these guys are facing over here. It's just not, oh wow, they lost a leg. Hey man, they lost a leg, and this bone fragments from these crazy bombs are growing, and they're growing into tissue. When they
took your leg in '98, where did the leg end up?
My dad, I think I donated it to research because at that time, back in 1986, the skin graft that they had done was very radical surgery, and so they're using it, or I guess they used it. I donated it.
I was going to ask, is it still around somewhere?
No, actually,
it's on Craigslist.
Right. Yeah, eBay.
eBay. And the other thing, so getting back to the triathlon, we got to take a break here, but I could talk to Scott all day. You don't use anything when you're doing the swim, so when you're swimming, it's all just upper body in the water?
Yeah, man, I can't get rid of these shoulders.
You can tell, man. Look at, his upper body.
He's got the swimming shoulders, right?
Yeah, I can't get rid of these shoulders.
So you can't kick nothing? You can't even kick kind of with your thighs or...
No, I mean, I lose 25% propulsion on the swim because there isn't a kick there.
Are you just exhausted from swimming without legs?
No, not really. I mean, it's just I just have to practice a lot and get my swim endurance up. I mean,
Doggy paddle?
No. I swim freestyle, but in Hawaii, that was the longest that I'd ever swam, and that was only the 4th time that I'd ever swam in the ocean. And I did I did 2.4 miles in the ocean in an hour and 28 minutes.
Wait, how many miles?
It was 2.4 miles in the ocean.
It's a 2.4 mile swim?
Yeah,
in the ocean.
The Hawaiian Ironman is a 2.4 mile swim in the ocean.
Yeah,
it's
112 miles.
And you have to do it. You have to do it and 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Or they just bail on
they
you.
pull you out of that course.
Right.
And then you have to do the swim and the bike in 10 hours and 30 minutes. And so I finished the swim portion in an hour and 28 minutes. It took me about 8 hours on the bike, and I finished in just under probably 40 minutes before the cutoff on the bike.
You finished the total. Now, you had 17. It said here you did it in
16 hours and 42 minutes. Yeah, I was cutting it kind of close.
So literally, the 17-hour time limit was not a personal thing you set. That was their rules.
No, that's their rules. You have to finish those 3 disciplines.
Right.
The 2.4-mile swim, 112-mile bike ride, full marathon. You have to finish that in 17 hours.
All right, listen, we got to take a break. We got Scott Rigsby in studio, double amputee. A lot of the military guys are thanking you for speaking so highly about the military and what these guys have been through.
It's my privilege.
Right.
The Marines flew me into Camp Lejeune, spent time with 150 of their family members, and just loved on them. I've been to they use my cycling feet at Walter Reed.
Right.
I've been to Balboa Naval Base. So I've got invites to the Center for the Intrepid. So yeah.
Awesome. If you want to stick around, I'm sure
Yeah,
we'll
I'd
have
love
a few
to,
more questions for you. But we got Philippe Petit,
Is
man.
he here?
Yeah, Man
Oh, good,
on
good.
Wire is his documentary we're going to talk about for a little bit, and then hopefully we'll get back to Scott's story. But it's ScottRigsby.com, RIGSBY, ScottRigsby, one word.com.
And it's called
And I'm-
promoting the Scott Rigsby